Welcome to this explainer. If you've ever felt like scaling a business means you absolutely need this massive team, or I don't know, millions in venture capital funding, well, get ready to completely flip your perspective on what's actually possible in today's digital landscape. We're looking at a strategic blueprint that proves how a single founder or a really busy business leader can use AI to completely outmaneuver massive, established competitors.
To really set the stage for this, let's look at the wild story from our source, entrepreneur Julia McCoy. Get this. She transitioned from running a massive 100-person content agency, an agency pulling in over $1 million in revenue, by the way, to something completely different. She saw the AI disruption coming, sold the agency, and today, she relies on just one single AI clone of herself to drive nearly 2 million monthly organic views. Just think about that ratio for a second. 100 employees versus 1 AI.
And honestly, it brilliantly illustrates this stark contrast between the slow, expensive, traditional methods and the hyper-efficient reality of building a business today. I mean, the old way was just agonizing. You had massive payrolls, sprawling contractor teams to manage, and you spent literally weeks on manual research. But the new way? You're compressing months of grueling startup work into just a few hours. Zero venture capital required. The barrier to entry hasn't just been lowered here, it has completely collapsed.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to dive right into this exact step-by-step roadmap. We'll cover validating the niche gap, cloning your voice, the flipped playbook, scaling AI operations, and finally, the adaptability mindset. Let's get right into it.
First up, step 1, validate the niche gap, looking at unprecedented speed and precision. Because look, you absolutely have to know you have a viable market before you spend a second building anything.
And it is truly crazy how fast this process has become. Using research tools like Claude, for instance, you can literally knock out these 4 steps in a single afternoon. You just ask the AI to analyze market gaps in your specific area of expertise, research your top competitors, identify underserved audiences, and bam! Instantly pinpoint your unique positioning angles. You are literally accomplishing in hours what used to take specialized teams weeks of heavy lifting.
All right, so once your idea is totally validated, you've got to build your content engine. This is step 2, clone your voice, the quality engine.
Now this is where it gets super interesting, because this completely destroys the whole myth that AI only spits out generic, robotic-sounding text. We are not talking about using a standard, out-of-the-box chatbot here. Think of this more like hiring a brilliant apprentice who has memorized every single thing you have ever written. By training a model on your past writing samples, your personal philosophy, and your professional expertise, you are creating a custom AI clone that actually speaks with your unique industry authority.
The output difference is honestly night and day. Generic AI, it gives you this recognizable, easily ignored fluff that can actually erode your brand's trust, offering really low business value. But a voice-trained AI amplifies your personal expertise. It builds genuine professional trust because it actually sounds like you, just, way faster and at an incredible scale. It elevates your business value tremendously right out of the gate.
So you've got this powerful, customized engine. How do you actually use it? Well, that brings us to section 3, the flipped playbook. Audience first, product second.
Here is the absolute key takeaway. Once you have that voice-trained engine, you need to completely flip the traditional launch strategy upside down. Most people wait until they have this perfect finished product to start creating content, right? That is totally backwards today. Phase 1 is publishing your voice-trained content immediately. Use that AI clone to fuel your YouTube scripts, your LinkedIn posts, your email sequences. Phase 2 is building actual audience trust through that consistent content. So, by the time you reach Phase 3 and finally launch your offer, you aren't trying to sell to cold strangers. You're launching to a highly engaged, warm market that already knows and trusts you.
But hey, content is really only half the battle. Let's move over to section 4. Scale AI operations built to run systematically. Let's look at how this builds a business that doesn't just rely on your manual labor.
As a busy leader, you really want a business that runs on systems right from day one. And you can do this by handing off heavily administrative tasks straight to your AI toolkit. We're talking automating client onboarding flows, generating communication templates, drafting super customized proposal documents, and mapping out your project workflows. By systematizing all of these processes instantly, a one-person lean startup can suddenly move with the operational speed and polish of a massive corporation.
And as you do scale, how are customers actually going to find you? The source points out a really fascinating shift happening right now: answer engine optimization, or AEO. Unlike traditional search engines that basically just hand you a list of links, answer engines like ChatGPT or Perplexity give direct conversational answers. Integrating AEO into your content strategy ensures that your new lean startup stays highly visible across all these new AI search tools. It is literally the modern strategy for massive digital discovery.
Finally, all of these incredibly powerful tools and systems, they're completely useless if you don't anchor them with the correct leadership mindset. Section 5, the adaptability mindset, fluidity in 2026.
There's this quote drawn from the source's philosophy in the book Fluid that absolutely hits the nail on the head. Adaptability is the survival skill of this era. The people who win aren't the ones with the most resources, they're the ones who adapt the fastest. The tools we've discussed today, they are available to everyone. The barrier to entry is gone. What separates the dreamers from the actual builders is simply the courage to start. You don't need to wait for perfect conditions anymore because your greatest ultimate advantage right now is your willingness to embrace this fluid, AI-driven landscape.
Which brings us to a final thought to wrap up this explainer. Your competitors, whether they're some massive agency or a really nimble startup, they are already figuring this out right now. They're training their models, they're automating workflows, and they're building their audiences. So what is your next move? Are you going to be the first mover, taking full advantage of this massive AI equalizer? Or are you going to be the one desperately trying to catch up? Thanks so much for joining me to explore these insights, and I'll catch you next time.